Hi guys, today we'll be doing a second day on general inverse sine and cosine relations. We're going to focus on radians, I think, in today's notes since we've covered degrees already. Okay, so remember that x is always in radians. Theta would be degrees. So we're looking for two negative, two positive, general solutions as well. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit different. So because we need to make sure that we have our calculator in radians. Okay, so I'm going to go mode, radians. I am not going to tell you this part, so you need to remember that radians is always x's. So now I can do cosine inverse of 0.62. It's going to be 0.90. Let's do this one in blue and I'll be consistent because I think I've been doing principal value. 4 decimal places, 0.9021. Do you guys see like that 5 bumps it up to 21? Okay. Now we're still going to draw this on the unit circle. We know that a full circle is 2 pi. Okay, so full circle equals to 2 pi, which is approximately 3.14, right, times 2. So 2 pi is 6.28. So if I broke this string all the way around into 6 pieces, right, it would be 6 pieces plus a little bit more, assuming that this length right here is 1. Okay. So let's see, we are going to be, cosine is x, so we're going to label 0.62 for x. I'm going to go up, there's a point up here, and there's a point down here. Okay. Our point up here will be 0.9021. And that means down here, this will be negative 0.9021, right? Just because like if I'm going up and that's positive, down is negative. So our general solutions will be theta 1 equals to 0.9021. And instead of plus 360 this time, we're going to say equal to 2 pi times n. And then my red points will be negative 0.9021 plus 2 pi times n. Now this could be positive or negative depending on if n is positive or negative, right? So if it's positive, then I'm going this way to the right, around, sorry, left, up and down. So starting here, if I go up and positive, I'll keep going around and I'll get a number that plus 2 pi. If I'm going negative to get to the other blue point, then I'll have a negative n. So my principal value right now, 0.9021. Okay, so the difference now here will be negative 0.9021. And the difference now is instead of adding by 360, I'm going to be adding 2 pi. Okay. Now I know 2 pi to you guys, pi seems like a variable, but we're actually going to take this number and add 2 pi to it, just like that, using our calculator. Pi is second the caret above division. Okay, so that gives me 7.1852. And I'm still rounding correctly. Now this is where it matters, like when you take this number and keep using it. So you can't just take 0.9021 plus and we said it was like 6.28. You guys see how like that number does not match my number at all, right? So like it's off by a significant amount. So you want to make sure you use the saved values. So I use cosine inverse of 0.62, and then I added 2 pi to it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do at this point is I have to go backwards and minus 2 pi, right? So I'm going to go again, get that number, and then minus 2 pi. That'll be negative 5.3811. Yeah. Okay, no rounding because the fifth number after the decimal is a 3, so it stays as that. Okay, so now in order to get, let's see, I have cosine 0.62, right? And in order to get that to be a negative, I'm going to multiply by negative 1. That makes it a negative. And then from there, I'm going to add 2 pi. Okay. So then this will be 5.3811. And these two happen to be the same because of the way this turns out, but don't just memorize those. I want you guys to know where the numbers come from. Okay. So that's for cosine. If you want to take a moment right now and practice that, that might be good to just like do it right away because sine is a little bit different. Okay. Okay, so example 2, we're going to talk about sine. I'll post my answers for 1 and 2 after. So let's talk about sine. We're still in radians, okay, and I'm going to do sine inverse of 0.84. Okay, ooh, that's really close to 1. So let's see, we have 0.9973. We have to round up. Okay. So my general solution, that's going to be the first one. Plus 2 pi n. I'm going to draw my unit circle. Sorry, that's a little wonky. Sine is y values. So I'm going to put up here 0.84. And our points are going to be here and here. Okay. So do you see how like if this is 1, we're getting really close to the top here. 0.9973. Okay. Now, this is a little bit tricky because 0.9973 is this length right here. Okay. Which means that that correlates to this over here. Okay. But you can't just call this point 0.993. This right here is pi. So what we're going to do to get that point in red is we're going to take pi minus the principal value, right? Because the principal value is this blue part. So the reason I didn't write 0.9973 is because we actually have to take this number and subtract it from pi. So I'm going to use my calculator, minus, and I'm going to use answer. So you're going to go second answer. So I can take that exact number and subtract it. So it'll be 2.1443. 2.1443. The number after 3 is 0, so I don't have to round that. Okay. So that number, oh, this was theta 1, is my theta 2. Okay. So it's 2.1443 plus 2 pi n. Okay. And the general formula here was PV plus 2 pi n. And this one was pi minus PV plus 2 pi n. Okay. So you see how like that's how I got that number? Okay. So these are my general. And it will always work like that, right? Because it's always going to be in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2 when we draw sine for y. Or it could be 3 and 4, I guess, right? So let's keep going. We have our blue value for principal value, 0.9973. We got 2.1443 doesn't go down here because it's not negative, it's going to go here. Right, so when I start at 0 and I go positive, my first positive value is the principal value, and then I have another positive value of 2.1443. And then the next positive value I get is going to be a blue one. And I'm going to add 2 pi to 0.9973. So I'm going to go back, get 9973 plus 2 pi. Okay. This will be 7.28046. The 6 rounds it up to 7.2805. I will need to subtract. Skip 1 always, because it's always going to alternate red, blue, right? And then this one, we're going to subtract. Okay, so let's go back. We're going to get to 0.9972, 973, sorry, minus 2 pi. And this will be negative 5.28590. The 0 keeps it at a 9. Okay. Now, how did I get 2.1443? Let's review. Okay, that came from pi minus principal value. So I'm going to do principal value. That's that number. And I can go pi minus my answer. Okay, I've got my number, and then I can subtract 2 pi. So it'll be negative 4.13887, so it'll be 89, because the 7 bumps the 8 up. So why don't you take a moment and practice 1 and 2? I'll post my answers in just a second for you to check. Okay, so pause the video here and check your answers. I am going to be really strict about the the decimal values that you get, so please make sure that you use the stored values in your calculator. Okay, so if you use this 0.3430 and you add 2 pi using this number, like, it's not going to work out well for you. Okay, so you have to use like the long decimal value, right? Like, go back, get that number again with the decimal that continues forever, and then add 2 pi and subtract 2 pi from there. Okay, so that's going to be the hardest part about this lesson. For the problems on this page, we're going to change gears really quick. We're not going to use a calculator or look at a unit circle. All answers should be exact, rationalized, and simplified if necessary. So we'll do a quick review. Converting degrees to radians, radians to degrees. Okay, this should be very straightforward. Remember, it's pi equals 180 degrees. Okay, so we're going to write our conversion ratio. And if 180, if you start with degrees, we're going to cross out degrees on the bottom. Okay, and then we'll have pi on top. So this one is really straightforward. Cross out the zeros, please. Okay, so that equals to negative 12 pi over 18, and then you can reduce by dividing by 6 and 6, which gives negative 2 pi over 3. Okay. This one you're going to do 480 times pi over 180. Again, cross out the zeros and the degrees, right? Since it ends in 0, so we'll have 48 pi, divided by 18. At this point, you can divide by whatever numbers work for you. So I know it's 6 and 6, but if you divide it by 2, you just have to keep going, right? So divide by 6 will give me 8 pi, and divide by 6 will give me over 3. So like if I chose a smaller number, I just have to check and see if can I keep going here. Okay, 315. So 180 degrees on the bottom and pi on the top. The degrees cancel out. Okay. Oops, sorry, this will be pi, not degrees. Okay, so this one, I do recognize 315 and 180 both on my unit circle. So that means I can divide by 45 and 45. Okay, so for 180, it's going to be over here. And I'm going to count. This is 45, 45, 45, 45. So it's going to be 4 45s in 180. And then 315 is somewhere over here. Hopefully you know that, right? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so we can still use our unit circle to help us, but we don't need to like see the unit circle, right? Or use it on a cheat sheet. Okay, we're going to keep going from radians to degrees. You guys can practice these if you want. Okay. Radians to degrees, if pi is on top, then we're going to have pi on the bottom. And we're going to go 180 degrees on top. Okay. So this one, I'm going to think of pi's cancel out. And then 180 and 3 can both be divided by 3. Okay. So divide by 3, divide by 3. That's going to be 60. Right? So it'll be negative 2 times 60 degrees, which is negative 120 degrees. Everything on the bottom cancel because 3 divided by 3 is just 1. This one, I will say 180 degrees on top. My pi's cancel out. I know 180 divided by 2. Guys see that? That's 90 degrees. So it goes to 7 times 90 degrees. 7 times 9 is 63, sorry. Add a 0. And you've got your 630. Next one. Times 180 over pi. I don't know 180 divided by 5 off the top of my head, but guys, we could do long division. Okay, it's not the end of the world. 18 divided by 5 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. Maybe I'll write this somewhere else. Sorry, this is getting a little cramped. I'll do it on the side here. 180 divided by 5. So 18 divided by 5 is 3. That's 15. Remainder 3. Bring down the 0. 30 divided by 5 is 6. So pi's cancel, but 180 divided by 5 is negative 7 times 36. Okay, so we'll need to do a little bit more work. 36 times 7. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 4 is 25. So this will be 252 degrees. Okay, so finding the exact value of the given trig function, this is review from our test. We have our cosine, which is x, 2/3, oh sorry, negative, should be down. Okay, so that'll be this one. So that'll be my x value, which is negative 1/2. Cosecant is 1 over sine, so that's 1 over y. 7 pi over 6, I want 7 pieces of 6, so that's going to be down here. And this is negative 1/2, so I'm going to take the reciprocal of y, which is negative 2. Cotangent is x over y. So if I divide it into 4 pieces on top, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I want to go negative. I'm so sorry. Negative. So 1, 2, 3. That's this one here. Okay. And it's the same size, right? So this is negative root 2 over 2, negative root 2 over 2. So negative divided by negative is a positive 1. And since it's a 45, 45, 90, they're the same. You guys should be able to do the rest of these. Okay. Now, the question here that we're asking is, what is the angle and we're working backwards, right? So if I want my sine, which is my y value, to equal to root 2 over 2, okay? So I want root 2 over 2, I know, is a 45, 45, 90. If I want my y value to equal to 2 over 2, what is that angle? And that angle, theta, okay, and I want x, which is radians. That angle is pi over 4. How do I know that? Because I know that it's going to be a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay. So cosine, which is x, this is degrees. I'm going to draw, I want it to be negative, so x is on the negative side, which will be over here. And I want my x to be a negative root 3 over 2. Okay. For this one, since it's the principal value, I want the first quadrant I get to, so not the one underneath, right? So the first one I get to is quadrant 1, quadrant 2. So I'm going to hit this point first. And what is this angle here? Well, that angle in degrees, if you divide it, right, is close to 180, but it's 30 degrees away from 180, so that's 150 degrees. Okay. I want sine, which is my y, to be negative 1/2. Oh, sorry guys. So that's going to be down here. Since it's negative, we're going to go backwards this way. It could also technically be here, right? But you see how, like, if I'm going negative in this direction, like starting from 0, this is the one I get to first. So what is that? That's going to be negative 30. Ooh, I forgot to check. Yes, it is degrees. Good. If it wasn't degrees, I'd have to say negative pi over 6. Okay, so now we're just working backwards to see what the angle is if I give you the coordinate or the ordered pair. Okay, that's it for today. Practice your homework. Let me know if you have any questions.